All right, so we'll get started. I hope you guys can see my screen. Thank you for coming to our last GBM of this quarter. We are the Youth Movement Against Alzheimer's, also known as WIMA, and we are creating a future worth remembering. For any new members, I just wanted to talk about who we are. We are a chapter of a larger nonprofit that's completely youth-led, and we're the largest nationwide youth-led Alzheimer's 501c3 nonprofit organization. And we lead a grassroots movement against the Alzheimer's disease by having a bunch of chapters throughout the United States at high schools and colleges. And we all strive to promote understanding of Alzheimer's amongst the youth and young adults by providing opportunities to help those affected by the disease. And we get involved in a variety of ways, whether it be through volunteer, fundraising, or advocacy. And right now I'll talk about some ways that we'll be giving you guys opportunities to volunteer. We have Elder Help, which is not an organization that we have a official collaboration with, but we thought that if you guys are interested in this club, you'd be interested in opportunities to get involved with the elderly, and Elder Help is a great way to help, whether it be just calling up a senior and making sure they're doing okay, or even like doing some chores and running errands for them. There's a variety of things you can do through their organization. There's also Shiley Marcos Alzheimer's Disease Research Center. They have a volunteer program, and we are in official collaboration with them. So if you guys are interested in becoming a volunteer, you can let us know. We actually have 2 of our board members who are volunteers for this research center, and they can provide more insight onto what the role of a volunteer is like. And we have an exciting volunteer opportunity coming up. It's called Connecting All Ages. And what this is kind of like a virtual pen pals. So you have a buddy, but your buddy is going to be someone who is older. And because we're in collaboration with the Talmadge Senior Residencies and UCSD's Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, you'll either be paired up with someone who has Alzheimer's or an older adult who is of lower income. And this population of lower income seniors is actually pretty interesting, or it's kind of interesting because they were all homeless at one point because of a chronic disease. And so this senior residencies has those seniors exclusively. So it'd be interesting to kind of listen to what they went through and how they're managing now. And this type of program is very important, not just for the seniors, but for the youth as well. We can combat social isolation for the older adults, especially during COVID when they are socially and physically isolated. And we want to promote a better understanding of aging. So I feel like we have this preconceived notion that, all older people are super like, they just stay in their beds all day, or they just, I don't know, they don't do anything. But I feel like this is a great way to truly understand what it's like to be an older person in San Diego, having gone through multiple different things. Maybe you'll be able to relate. And this program might be used for research in the future. We were planning to expand it to like all of San Diego County. So this is a great way to get involved and be part of something that makes a big impact in San Diego. And so the QR code is there on the screen. Sorry, I'm looking over to the side. My monitor is on this side, but scan the QR code and you can sign up. And if you want, you can even sign up for a committee. All the volunteer requirements are going to be in the top area of the form, so you can read that.
Alrighty, thank you, Susie, for that great introduction of our org and our cool volunteer program. Anyways, I'm going to be talking about our fundraising campaigns and stuff like that. So we have the 135 fundraising campaign, and this was launched by our national board. And basically, it's the campaign is going to raise funds to support our chapter advocacy and caregiver respite programs. And how it works is every month you pledge a small amount, $1, $3, or $5, 135, but you can also do one-time donations. Those are welcome. Those are also welcome. And we'll post the donation link on our page. And we actually have a bingo board, in the next slide. Um, yeah. Oh, okay. Never mind. I guess the slides didn't update, but we have a bingo board that I just made, and it's a Dare bingo board. So if you're interested, we're opening up the bingo board to our general members to use just to help us like get more money from to be able to help support the national board. And then we also have our sticker fundraising campaign. And basically, it's to support our local chapter and with all our different volunteer programs. And we're also planning on doing like a food drive for seniors that are less fortunate. And yeah, so on the next slide, you can see all the different sticker designs that we have available. And if you have any sticker design ideas that you want to see, you can also comment that in our sticker form in the next slide. Oh, so that should be changed too. It's open now. So we're relaunching the sticker campaign because we had our first round and it was really popular, and we had to close because we got too many orders, and it's only me working on packaging them and printing them out. But now we're back and open for business. And yeah, I'm excited to see if more people are interested in supporting us. And yeah. Oh, and stickers are $1 each and free shipping. And then one last thing, this isn't officially associated with our organization, but the community health program at UCSD and San Pascal High School are launching a social media campaign where it's basically like Humans of New York, like where they interview people with elderly, like family members that have Alzheimer's and dementias, and they share their stories. So if you have a story to share, like please contact us and we can put you in contact with them. And finally, we're getting on to the main part of this GBM, and it's our speaker for today. And today, our GBM is Life of an ALS Advocate, and Lori La Bey is our speaker for today. And she, just to briefly introduce her, she's long-time Alzheimer's and dementia advocate and founder of the radio show Alzheimer Speaks and co-founder of Dementia Map. And what Dementia Map is basically like connecting families that have like are dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's with the resources that they need. And she can go into a lot more detail with what she does because she has accomplished a lot.
Okay, so is it okay to share my screen then? Is this where you want me to pop in? Okay.
Go for it.
I'm going to basically tell you a little bit of a background about myself, and then I'm going to go into my journey, and then I wanted to talk about finding purpose for yourself and what that's like, and some of the ups and downs, and then I'll close with a story and take any questions that you have. So I grew up in a normal family, very loving. Everything was fine until my mom turned about 55. And then she got dementia. And so at my wedding, mom was having difficulty, but we didn't know quite what the deal was yet at that point. I'm going to get this to see if I can go to full screen here. I'm sorry, I didn't do that. Why is it not? Here we go. It should. There we go. Sorry about that. And so, life was good. But we knew something was wrong, didn't quite know what. My mom had finally got diagnosed with dementia. My dad ended up getting diagnosed with brain cancer. And so the family had to take things a lot more seriously because we knew Dad didn't have a long time to live. They gave him a year and a half. He lived to 4.5. And so this is a picture of my mom and Dad on a cruise. We went on a family cruise. We wanted to make one last special trip together. And this is them renewing their vows on their 49th and a half anniversary because we knew my dad wasn't going to make it till his 50th. But it was really precious. It was just a close session that we had for our family, and we pulled this together in like 2 weeks. And we had about 250 people show up afterwards. And it was really pretty amazing. We had a lot of fun. After Dad passed, Mom moved into a nursing home. She wanted to actually move into where he ended up living. She woke up one day with clarity and said, hey, you know, I want to move into the nursing home. And of course, as a daughter, I was all offended. Like, what? Why don't you want to live with us? Aren't you happy? You know, and I made it all about me. And she's like, no. She's like, we've been married 49 and a half years and I'm not leaving him now. And I thought, I got to make this happen. You know, she kind of came out of the days to make that. And what I learned on this whole journey with her was the importance of listening to them, not giving up on the connections, because you never know when those moments of clarity are going to come. The lower picture is just a really neat gift that 2 friends gave me, where one came and sang to my mom, the other one recorded, and it's all these moments of joy. And so I was able to, and to this day, even though she's been gone for 6 years, I can go to YouTube, I can watch some of those music videos on the absolute worst day. I'm down, I'm feeling like, oh, you know, what am I doing? And she'll put a smile on my face and give me my purpose back again. Now, during all of this, I realized that, you know, cases of dementia in the world were developing every 3 seconds. And, you know, our family wasn't alone. And that there were all ages of people. Every single one of these people have dementia. Michael down at the podium actually started having signs at the age of 39, but even kids, and we don't hear about it so much in the US, but over in the UK, are starting to get diagnosed with dementia. So this isn't an old person's disease, and we have to really switch that around. And on my journey with my mom, I found moments of joy. And you can look at these pictures and go, what the heck? She's not looking all that great in all these pictures. You know, look at her hair. But it's not about those things. You know, it's about what you feel in your heart, in the connection. And so for me, my mom's disease, even though I wouldn't wish it on anybody, was the biggest gift I'll ever receive in my life. It taught me so many beautiful life lessons. And, you know, I always thought that I was a good person, but I think I'm a much better person because of this. And I had this feeling that one person can make a difference. Every single one of us has the power to make a difference. Big or small, it doesn't make any difference, but we have the power to make change and to be creative. I believe that there are better ways to do things. I refused also to work in a broken system when I decided to make the step out of my life and into a new one. And I believe that little steps to this day can bring about great, great change. And so, you know, prior, I was working with the developmentally disabled for about 10 years, and then I went into real estate for 25, and I never thought I'd leave. Never. I loved real estate. And I worked with the senior market. But when I was working with a lot of the assisted livings and memory care on housing and transitions, they started asking me questions about my mom's dementia. So I started speaking and training on that. And they were actually the ones that encouraged me to step out of real estate and step into this space. And to be honest, I didn't know if they were sick of my stories or if they really thought I could make a difference. But I decided, what the heck, I'm going to do this. I didn't finish college. And I think that that's important for you to know. You don't have to necessarily be book smart to make a difference in the world. Each one of us has gifts in different ways, and I'm kind of a hands-on person, and so I thought I'd finish, but I needed to get in the groove of what I needed to do now, and that's just how I've always been. So in 2009, I made a formal change in careers. I stepped out of real estate and I stepped into what I today call Alzheimer Speaks. And I started with a blog. And from the blog, I developed from the blog, here we go. What happened? Sorry, guys. From the blog, I went on and developed a website because as a frustrated family member, I just thought there weren't enough resources. There had to be a better way to connect people, and there had to be different ways to connect people than what we were using. In 2011, I started the radio show, which was about raising all voices, and it is to this day. I've had kids on, I've had family members, I have people with dementia, researchers, all kinds of businesses, movie directors, singers, songwriters, advocates, you name it. I don't think we can make sustainable change unless we are open to hearing everyone's side of the coin. And so I think that that's a really important lesson to understand. 2011, I was, doing a lot on social media and talking to people all around the world because of the blog. And I heard about memory cafes, and which is a concept that is fabulous. And today we have about 1,000 of them in the U.S. The sad part is we only have a little over 100 that are virtual since COVID. And people still need to connect. And people can work with the technology. In fact, they are amazed when they can work with the technology of Zoom, and then they start applying it in other areas. So I was really proud to help bring that concept over. And I never went there. I just talked about it, and people freely share ideas. In 2012, I decided I really needed to raise the voice of those living with a diagnosis. So I created Dementia Chats. And that is where I facilitate a conversation. They pick the topic and we just go for an hour, and they have great insights. And so these are just amazing stories of what it's like to live with dementia, where the needs are, and they give anytime they have a negative, they have ideas for change, and they share them. In 2012, I was recognized by Dr. Oz as the #1 influencer online, which just totally blew me away, because I'm like, how could that happen? I'm a single person. I don't have anybody working for me. And in talking with them, what they told me was they had a criteria of about 80 metrics. And what we found out through that conversation was it was just my commitment to having an authentic voice. Not about being perfect, not about being staged, not about telling people what to do, but just what I went through. And I think storytelling really helps people manage, and it gets them freer to have their own conversations in their own circles, makes them feel a part. In 2013, I became an international ambassador for the Purple Angel Project, which was started by Norms McNamara, a man living with dementia. This is a symbol that anybody can use. There's no cost to it. You just can't use it to make t-shirts and sell them, those types of things, unless it's going back into dementia awareness. Everything has to go back in. And it's just amazing. Norms has done incredible things. I can't even tell you how many ambassadors and how many countries this is in. In 2013, I was lucky enough to collaborate with the Lutheran Home Association, and we launched the first dementia-friendly community in the U.S. Something I was told over and over again, like just about everything else I've done, I couldn't do. And, if you have an idea or a concept, believe in it and go for it. The worst that's going to happen, it's not going to work, and you're going to adjust it. Or maybe you're going to decide to walk away from it. But at least in your heart, you tried. And to me, that helps me sleep at night. Also in 2013, we launched the Roseville Alzheimer's and Dementia Community Action Team here in Minnesota. They are, I believe, still the one and only Alzheimer's community where a city has actually given them space on their city website. And they have been amazing. And we collaborate with the library, the city, and the school district and the senior centers to put on programs. In 2013, I developed this great tool called Your Memory Chip. And this was because I wasn't a gracious daughter one day. I had a bad day. My mom repeated herself 45 times in 10 minutes. I didn't think it was fun. I didn't think it was funny. I didn't want to play a game. I had stuff to do. And I felt horrible. I felt horrible, and I thought there's got to be a better way. So I came up with 3 questions. One is, what do I want this person with dementia to know? And I asked people with I asked families and I asked professionals. And professionals said, well, we want them to know we're here to support them. Families were typically, we want them to know that we love them. But I realize that's not enough. We have to use multi-sensory engagement because they need more things to be able to grab from us as their mind deteriorates. And then I asked people, what do they need to focus on? And I was really happy because everyone said a checklist or a job description, and I thought, I got that down. And then I asked them, what do they want to remember? And everybody was afraid of losing what their voice sounded like. What did they look like? And they would refer to them as a past entity. Instead of looking in the mirror going, hey, buddy, you've changed a lot too. You're not the same person you once were. And admitting that. And about 2 months after I did the survey, I realized that what I missed when I asked people what they needed to focus on, I missed something really, really subtle. And it wasn't a word. It was just this tone in their voice. And it was this thing that said, this isn't how I pictured my life. And what I realized in that second was that if I have an emotional need as a human being, I have to take care of that first. And so I realized I had to stop having my checklist be my main focus, even though I had to do stuff. But I had to stop and put my mom first. Was she safe? Was she happy? Was she pain-free? And when I did that, I did my tasks different. Some of them I found I didn't need to do even. Another tool I created, which is a partner tool, is your memory chip journal. And this is just to get family and friends to come with a picture and a great story. And it can just be a couple of words, but to be able to reminisce and share those things is really, really important. And it gives them purpose and a feeling of belonging as well. In 2015, I was approached to help a film called, at that time, His Neighbor Phil, to launch. And so came up with a marketing plan. It's now called A Timeless Love. And they were thinking, you know, they were going to put it on DVD and they were going to do all this and that. And I said, no. I said, people need to watch this film in community. They need to be able to ask questions and share stories. And so we do a talk back. And a lot of people are mad that they can't buy the DVD or they can't access it on Netflix. But this isn't something you want people to do alone. You want them to feel supported. You know, someone could walk out of this movie and be really down. They need to see the whole thing. They need to be able to process it and find the joy and also find their own family characters in this film. And so that was really a lot of fun. In 2016, Maria Shriver named me an architect of change, which was just such an honor. And then in 2016, with our Roseville group, we launched the Caregiver Reentry Support Group. We found that a lot of people, after a loved one had passed, or maybe they went to adult day, or maybe they had to move into a community, they didn't know what to do anymore. They had all this time. And so who are they? A lot of their friends and family had pulled away and they didn't feel like they fit in anymore. And so that is still going on today. In 2017, Maria asked me to be on her panel for Move for the Minds, which was a great honor that Lisa Gibbons hosted. And then in 2017, I decided to launch a dementia-friendly cruise and symposium for families. And we had a riot. It was a blast. And people with dementia had way more energy than I ever thought. They got up. We started the day usually about 9 in the morning. And they were out still gabbing at 11 p.m. at night, sometimes 12, and even 1 o'clock. But they were having a ball. In 2017 to 2019, I partnered with a group called Provalence, and we tried to pull together a dementia resource directory. And it looked pretty, but it wasn't functional. And so we parted ways in 2019. But I never lost the vision of that at all. In 2017, I decided to just put out a free brochure for people to download on tips on how to communicate. 2018, I get this thing from Oprah saying you're one of our health heroes. None of this stuff I went after. It just happened. It was all organic. It was all word of mouth. And then in 2018, Minnesota AARP named me, and this is one of my favorites, an inspiring leader and a disruptor as a care creator. In 2018, our Roseville group also started the Dementia Friendly Airports Working Group, where we did a survey. We now have international connections, changing how travel is going. TSA is now in the U.S. going to be trained, and there's a lot of momentum behind travel. And then in 2020, I didn't even know this place existed. The National Institute for Dementia Education endorsed me and gave me their seal of excellence. And then this one I'm so proud of. This is Dementia Map. This is the global resource directory I have wanted for 36 years, and it finally came to be. And it's more than just a resource directory, but it has events and blogs and all kinds of things on there, and we're just growing it organically, and we would love your group to be part of that. We have free and we have paid plans. I'd love to give you a tour. Anyone interested can just go to Dementia Map, and in the upper right hand corner you can go ahead and sign up for a tour with me. So that's kind of me. Now I want to talk about purpose, passion, and the endless possibilities out there, because they really are. And one of the things so many people ask is, how do I know if I'm doing what I'm really supposed to do here in this world? And that's a tough question. And a lot of times people think about it and they kind of push it aside. But I really think it's something we need to talk about. For me, I was picked. Things came to me in a dream. I'm going to share you a story at the very end, Betty the Bald Chicken. But I've, even when I've been really down, I've tried to quit and I can't. I get in these fights with God and I'm like, that is it. I am out of here. And then boom, an email or a phone call or something happens and I'm like, okay, I'm back in the game, better than ever. And it's just where I'm supposed to be. And what you'll find with purpose when you find it is comfortable and it is comforting. It's just your space. You just know it's where you're supposed to be. Living with purpose can be good and it can be great, but it can also be really uncomfortable, because usually when you live with purpose, you're not living the life everyone else is living. You're not maybe working the 9-to-5 job or, whatever it might be. And know that that is temporary. And know that there is a deeper filling of the soul within. Living with purpose can be really frustrating. You can get angry. If you're like me, you want it to go faster. You want to push through and you just want to scream. And it teaches you patience. Something, I don't really want to learn. I just want things to go faster. But I've learned that timing is important. And I've learned that living with purpose can be ugly, because sometimes people, when they're uncomfortable and they don't understand what you're doing, they can get really cranky, or they can feel intimidated, or I think when they get the ugliest is when they're not happy and they see that you are, because you were willing to take the risk and they're just not there yet. But purpose enhances our outcomes because we look at things different. Passion and purpose are flexible, they're creative, they're fun, they're comfortable. It keeps you curious, and it empowers not only you but others. Passion is contagious, and what you'll find is maybe some of your friends won't align, then they're not the friends for you in the moment. Friends change throughout our lives, and people will come out of the woodwork. When you lose some, you just open up space for others to come. And passion will come easy once you decide to let it in. Passion is also just a wonderful source of creativity, because you don't go in thinking you know all the answers. You just have this concept and you're open to looking at different ways. It's about building a respectful team culture It allows differences to push you and grow. It harnesses integrity. It allows innovation. It demands compassion. And it heightens your performance, and it tightens your relationships, and it elevates kindness. Passion also needs a parking lot for creative futures, because it's going to just start coming and you're going to want to do it all, and you can't. So you have to learn to prioritize ideas. So get a pad just for a parking lot. It's going to require timing and patience and persistence. Like I said, the dementia map, 36 years, guys. 36 years. I wanted that. But timing is important. If people aren't ready to receive what it is you have, sometimes things have to slow down. That doesn't mean you have to slow down. You just have to take a little different track and build things in a different fashion. So perseverance is really important in terms of winning. You have to learn to push through. And sometimes there's going to be some crashes that you're not going to like, and you're going to be speeding along and go, I didn't see that one coming. And that's normal. You've had it in life already. Sometimes you're just going to hit the wall. And one of the biggest lessons for me that I learned was when I hit the wall, ask this question: what is the lesson? You see, what I found myself doing when I hit the wall and when I was feeling down, I was asking all the wrong questions. I thought I was asking the right questions and looking for the answers, but instead I was spinning in the drama and the minutia. And when I started literally asking this question, I would get new answers, because it was black and white what I wanted to happen. And it was amazing. We also have to learn, and I think accept, that we have been trained to be who others want us to be, not necessarily who we are inside. I should have been an accountant. I was great at math. I couldn't sit behind a desk though. I needed to be out there with people. And a lot of people in families, there's doctors, so we're going to be doctors, we're going to be police officers, we're going to be whatever. But what makes you happy? And a lot of times we sink our own ship because we don't believe that we can do something because others have told us that we can't or that we shouldn't. The other thing that we do is we live in a world of perfection. So we have to reframe failure. We have to take leaps of faith and really go, hey, this isn't where I thought I was going to land, but this is okay. I'm still alive. I got another chance to do this. It's really about saying you did it and you survived. I don't know if anyone has watched Shirley MacLaine's movie, The Last Word, but this is a powerful, powerful film. And she talks about fail spectacularly, because she had a lot of regrets in her life in this movie, and she changed at the very end because that's not how she wanted to be remembered. And it's a fabulous movie. She talks about mistakes make us smarter, they make us more self-reliant, and they make us stronger. And that we need to be open to following the clues. And they might be a note or a call or a text or your favorite bird, or somebody gives you funds for what it is you're doing. All of those are signs. Don't ignore them. Try to bring different viewpoints in. Don't always look at your project in the same light. Think of how other people are viewing it, because that's going to bring you clarity and it's going to help you be sustainable. Know that when you're dealing with passion and purpose, emotions are going to be more intense. The good are going to be really good, and the scary is going to be really scary, and the times you're down are going to be really down. That's because you are so invested in what you're doing. Know that isolation hurts. We all know that. And part of moving into a new area, like I said, some people might walk out of your life, but others, I promise you, will walk in. Know that your passion can't be squashed, but there might be a lot of people that try to do that. Passion grows and it gets bigger and it gets stronger as you work, and it will change. It'll change formats. These were all, one thing. Somebody made a wine, a wine storage, another one made a house, another one made a goat run, all out of the same type of silo. So creativity is key. One of the biggest mistakes I believe that people can make is that passion equals perfection. Kick perfection to the curb. It doesn't exist more than once. You can do something perfect and everything lines up, but everything changes the next time you do it. And it might get close, it might get better, or it might not be as good. But focus more on progress than perfection, knowing you always have an opportunity to do more. Being perfect is exhausting and it's scary. I mean, just go on Facebook and all these perfect lives, and you're thinking, I know their life's not like that. I know everything's not so perfect in their world, but we have this image. It's okay to be authentic. It's okay to say you have a bad day or that you cried or that you're depressed. All of those emotions are normal. And we need to normalize all of that, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So when you find your purpose and your passion, put your pedal to the metal and just go for it. You can be competitive, but you can also be really gracious, and you can build relationships as you go. So what do you need? And what do you want to fill? What is that need? We all know there's something going on, and every business, service, product, tool, volunteer opportunity, philanthropy, it all starts with somebody seeing a need. So write down, what do you think the needs are? And it starts with a vision. Just start writing things down. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be a word, it can be a sentence, it can be a paragraph, it can be a whole proposal. Just start. And know that there's no silver bullets. And be aware that things are going to morph. They're going to change as you go. You're going to have different insights. So you want to build your tool case and your toolbox. And you want to secure a mentor. And a mentor can be in any shape or form. It doesn't have to be necessarily even in the area you're interested in, but just somebody that you look up to. And remove your fears. Be open-minded. Let your heart be open and open your eyes and your ears. We think we're seeing and we think we're hearing, but a lot of times we're not. We're busy making our response. And it's okay to push past old rules if you don't think they work anymore. Believe in yourself, because unforeseen possibilities arise and you will be shocked, just like I have been. Looking back sometimes can help you move forward. So one of the things that I did is I actually looked back at 5-year periods of my life. And I wrote down, and again, it's just a word or a sentence. It doesn't have to be a lot. Significant people, events, or lessons that I learned in those ages. And I'm going to be 62 this year, and I can tell you every dot connected. Every dot in those things just connected to who I am today. And it was incredible to see that. So it's okay if you see a broken system. Again, things have never been perfect. Your approach matters, and it will align and it will affect your outcomes. So, be kind, be gracious. Know that an academic approach versus a grassroots approach versus a medical model are all going to look and view things differently. So maybe you want to build a team that has it all. Know that one way, my way or the highway, is not the way to always get it done. It's great for your vision to start with that, but you have to be collaborative. You have to look beyond what your vision is and know that others have great input as well. You need to let go of stress. And one thing, I went to a retreat one time, and a woman approached me and she says, "A penny for your thoughts and I'll give you a nickel for a word. And I just looked at her like, what? And she says, I want to buy a word from you. She says, I want to buy would have, could have, or should have. Which one would you like to sell? And I said, well, I don't know. And she says, which one weighs you down the most? Would have, could have, or should have. And think about how many times you say that to yourself when you think back. So I sold her my word, and I went with should have. And she said, now the deal is you can no longer use that phrase. And she says, if you want to buy it back from me, you can, but I don't think you're going to want to. But it just makes us conscious sometimes of how our mind and that inner critic, I don't know if you have one, but I know I have one, and it beats me up a lot sometimes. So what's your story? What do you want your life to look like? You know, you can be that ripple, and it can start with just the smallest of pebble of idea. Now, I want to wrap up with a story and then open it up to questions here quick. And the story is called Betty the Bald Chicken. And this actually came to me at 2 in the morning. And Betty, all I kept seeing was this bald chicken. I kept hearing and seeing the word Alzheimer's go by. And I was old enough to know that if I did get up and write the story, I was not going to get any sleep. So this is Betty's story. Betty lived on this farm, and she had a wonderful, wonderful life. And she was connected with her family and friends. Things were good. And one day she went out to dinner in the barnyard, and she was eating her corn. And when she was nibbling on her corn, she felt this tug and this pull on her shoulder. And she looked around, and nobody was by her, and she couldn't figure out what the heck happened. And so she bowed her head down, and when she did, she noticed that there was a feather on the ground, and she knew it was hers. She didn't know how it got plucked out, but it sure felt like somebody plucked it out. She noticed no one else noticed, and so she decided, I'm not going to say anything to anybody, because what do I say? But she kind of had this gnawing feeling that something was changing, but she didn't know what. About 3 months later, life continued to be good. She went out for dinner again. And this time she felt a tug and a pull, and she just squawked out in pain. And when she did, all the other chickens looked at her. And she saw them pushing her away and grabbing their young. And when she bowed her head in embarrassment, she saw all these feathers, and she saw that her skin was bloody and pockmarked. And she had no idea of all these changes were going on. And from that moment forward, no one wanted anything to do with Betty. They uninvited her to birthday parties. She wasn't part of the committee anymore. She couldn't go to church. It was horrible. She would see the little ones say, I want to go see Betty, and then their family would pull them away. So she went out and she decided she was going to walk the farm. And as she walked, she cried and she prayed and she thought, I'm a good chicken. Why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this. I don't even know what's going on. And as she's walking, she stumbles on this big rock and she ends up falling forward. And Betty falls off this cliff into a big ravine. And she's thinking to herself, really? This is how I'm going to go? No one even cares about me? No one's going to check on me? No one's going to look for me? Really? And she's screaming as she's falling down this ravine. But what Betty didn't know was at the bottom of the ravine was the carrying corral. And they heard her wails and cries, and they reached out to embrace her and so she wouldn't get hurt from the fall. And they not once asked Betty what was wrong with her, because they all knew they were imperfect too. And as Betty started to feel better, she became part of their community. And one day they said, Betty, why don't you just stay here? Stop talking about going back up to the barnyard. And she said, you know, nobody really wants me there. No one's even come look for me, she said, for God's sakes. So she decided she was going to live in the Caring Corral. And a couple years passed, and Betty got sick, and she ended up in the hospital. And the group gathered and said, one of us has to go back up to the barnyard. So the horse said, I'll go. So he gathered all the barnyard animals around, and he said, Betty's sick. You have one last chance. Are you going to come back into Betty's life and celebrate all she's ever been? Or are you going to continue to pity and push her away? Now, if we're honest, we've all been Betty. We haven't fit in probably multiple times on different occasions, and we know how horrible that feels. If we're honest, we've probably been part of the barnyard group who's walked away from somebody in need because we didn't have the time, the energy, the money, whatever it was in that moment. And I know that you guys are all part of the Caring Corral because of the work that you're doing in the gathering of your group. And what I'm here to tell you tonight is it doesn't make any difference the choices you've made in the past, because every moment before you, you have a new choice to make. And so even if you slip and you regret and have a woulda, shoulda, or coulda, let it go, because you have another opportunity to make a difference. I believe each one of you can make a difference. I believe that we can help people come to unity through community, one person, one home, one business, one community at a time. And we can view Alzheimer's as a gift or disaster. It all depends on what we want to believe and what we want to feel. So, what do you think needs improvement in the world and why? What do you enjoy doing? And how do you combine those two? Some people like to knit, and so they knit prayer shawls for people. Some people are good at sports or are good at the arts, and they've brought that in. At all ages and stages of life, there is no limit to what you can do. So I guess I'd like to open it up and just ask, I'll stop sharing, and ask people if anything has shifted in their perception about what they want to do or what is possible to do. You're all muted. I know you got some ideas.
I guess I'll start. I just want to say, like, thank you so much for that, Lori. That was amazing. I never like resonated so much with a chicken, and I'm very surprised. But yeah, I guess like what I learned the most from today is like I don't always have to fit in a box, and I can like pave my own path and still make a difference, like worth just as much as what another person is doing.
Exactly. That's a great takeaway. Anybody else? Isaac, how about you? You're shaking your head.
Oh no, I was just agreeing. But I know Susie had a really good example as how she could be relevant or empathize with such.
Hi, I'm Susie.
Hi, Susie.
Well, as Gracie said, I never thought I'd relate to a chicken this much before, and I didn't think I'd be crying over a chicken today. So this is a little bit of a shock. I knew that you were coming in to talk about Alzheimer's, but I didn't know that this is how the talk would turn out to be, and I'm pleasantly surprised. Um, I would say like I'm a pretty passionate person, and just like the way you described how like passion can make you feel, I always saw it but never really understood it. And like the fact that you presented about it shows that like each one of us goes through all of this, and we're all frustrated, and we're all trying to make it, you know. And I think just like seeing how far you've come along with your passion and you're not seeking out anything more than expressing your passion and sharing it with others is reassuring because I feel like as college students, we're often looking for ways to give back to the community, but then we also want to be successful. And I think you are like the perfect example to show that if we keep following our passion, then we'll definitely make a difference in at least one person. And
Yeah.
one thing that stuck with me was Alzheimer's or like anything in your life can either be seen as like a gift or a disaster. And I know like that's something that I like think about once in a while, but it's a nice thing to hear from someone else. And yeah, thank you.
I think we all have much more control of how we perceive things. And I know it's really easy to get caught up in the drama, but when you think about how draining that drama is, and when you wrap yourself in the passion and you can see the positive, and not that you're not acknowledging that, hey, this didn't go quite the way I wanted or it didn't go even close to the way I wanted, that's okay to acknowledge that. But you can ask any entrepreneur out there, and they will tell you they have failed way, way more times than they've succeeded. And that things always take longer, but they turn out better because their collaborations are different, or their ideas have matured, or the timing of society has just come in, at the right moment. And those are things I think we don't always see. A lot of times we think it's up to us to do it, but it's and I don't know what your beliefs are, but I really believe in the spiritual world guides us in terms of when things are going to happen. And for me, I really, I mean, the whole Alzheimer's world really didn't even open up in terms of my beliefs until the last 5 years. So I mean, I was slamming into the wall a lot. And one of the biggest takeaways I can give you is I learned late, but I learned not to try to convince somebody who didn't want to be convinced that my idea or my concept was good. Just keep pushing it out there and people will come to you. And what I still hear to this day of people who are just starting the journey, and they'll be talking and they're like, I'm so energized by talking to you. And I'm like, well, I am too. Because it's one of those give and take things, versus when you're talking with someone who doesn't believe in what you're doing, you get sucked dry and you go back thinking, what am I doing? Am I crazy? This person thinks I'm nuts. I must be nuts. But when you talk with those that are aligned, that energy builds, and the next thing you know, you're thinking you don't need to sleep because you got too much to do, and you want to get your sleep. And you want to have balance, and balance is probably one of the hardest things that I still struggle with, is because I love what I do, so it doesn't feel like work. But how many people can say that? Not a whole heck of a lot. Lisa, how about you? Any comments?
No, I really appreciated your story and I related to the chicken as well. For the animation, was that you who drew it or
No, actually, I tapped into our Minnesota graphics department, or school, I should say, and they have kind of job fairs and stuff that you can go to, and so I interviewed people through that process. And actually, I have a new Betty that is more resemblance to my mother and some of her characters and stuff. And I've got it ready to go into a book, but I just haven't had the funds to launch the book, because I think the story applies to all of life. If it's bullying, if it's addiction, if it's cancer, if it's whatever, and Susie, you're not the only one that's cried. I mean, I speak to 1,000 people in a room, and people will be bawling their eyes out with that. And so I actually have Mardi Gras beads with rubber chickens hanging from them and rubber chickens that I sell. And people will come up and say, I had one gentleman and he's like, I need 2 dozen of those necklaces and another 2 dozen chickens. He's like, I have grandchildren and adult children that need to hear this story. And so, I mean, it's goofy stuff that can happen. You know, you just don't know. So, anybody else want to make a comment? Is it Wee Wee? I don't want to say your name wrong. Not close. Okay.
Hi, no, it's okay. My name's Wei Wei.
Wei. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So I definitely cried a little when you mentioned the could have, should have part. I feel like I can really connect to that. Because sometimes, well, I'm a freshman, so I'm still like exploring, career options and stuff. And so I've always been questioning myself and like asking me like, is this what I want to do? Like, why do I want to do this? Will this make, me happy? Will this, because I know that I have to be happy and like passionate about my career in order to keep doing it. So yeah, I feel like your talk really inspired me, and I feel like I'm more clear now on what I want to do. So thank you so much.
Oh, good. Arjun, anything from you? And again, correct me if I'm crucifying your names. I'm like the world's worst.
Yeah, that was actually really great. You got it. So I also like the story. And I'll say that final thing you said about don't worry about if there was something that you didn't get to do, but always there's something you can do in the future. I really like that because I definitely agree.
Yep. And I think so often our inner critic just beats us up, and we listen to that too much. So one of the things that has helped me is just deep breathing. I don't know if any of you guys do that at all, but if you take 11 deep breaths in and 11 deep breaths out, your body chemistry actually will change. And so what I do on my inhales is I ask God or my higher power for whatever I need. And I'm not specific because we don't know all the time what it is we need. So I just ask for, give me whatever I need in this moment to get through it. And then on my exhale, I ask that all the toxins in my mind, body, heart, and soul leave the building. Just get out of here. And I feel much calmer by the time I'm done with those 11 breaths. It's pretty incredible. I really encourage anybody to try that. And again, there's science to back that as well. But the deep breathing is really just a good way to become more conscious of what you want and what you don't want spinning in your mind with that. So, Anna, how about you? Any comments?
Yeah, I actually thought that it was really great when you talked about seeing Alzheimer's like as a gift. That was something new to me. My dad was diagnosed with early onset, and so I've not really met a lot of people my age going through it. And so I've actually met nobody my age going through it. And so like having you say that like you now see it as a gift is just like really like I've never seen it as that. So it's nice to see like that there can be like good positive ways to look at it.
Yeah, there's a lot like with, my mom was older. She was 55, which people would still say is young. And she lived till 86. But I got to see my mom play like a child, like really innocent. And she was just so full of joy. I never would have seen that because she was an adult. She had to be proper. She was my mother. I heard stories about her that normally I wouldn't have heard as an adult. And it was precious. When I had my child, I'll never forget, my mom really wanted to watch our daughter, and we were a little nervous about that, but we thought, okay, for a short period of time, I'll get some McDonald's or something so she doesn't have to cook and she can feel like she's helping us out. And I'll never, ever forget the day I came to pick up my daughter, Danielle, and they were in the dining room coloring. And when I walked in the doorway of the dining room, they both held up their pictures so proud. And it just melted my heart that she was so happy, and that safe, happy, and pain-free thing, if you start focusing on that, you will see the joy, because a lot of times, well, all the time, we're only going to see what we're looking for. So I'm going to share with you one last story, if that's okay. Do we have time? Okay. I call this Tears, Fears, and Joy. And so with dementia, there is a ton of loss. And I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't exist. It is there, and it can be depressing and maddening and saddening. And you can just get sucked down that whole drain in a spiral down. But what you have to remember is you would never feel that great loss if you first didn't have great love. And so many people never have that great love. So for me, that was a gift to realize that I was in this much pain because of the depths of my love. And we can get sucked into the future, all the things that could happen. And we plan and we plan, and we have, if you're like me, you got multiple plans so that bases are covered and it's going to go smooth. But in reality, if something does go awry, you're going to have to reassess everything anyways. So go ahead and make a plan, but then let it go and see what happens. Because all you can do is the best you have in the moment it happens. And so projecting all these different plans sometimes is a waste of time, in my opinion, because you can only find joy and you can only create joy in the current moment. And if you're spinning in the tears and you're spinning in the fears, you've lost that moment to identify and create the joy. And so sometimes it's just really simple things. My mom turned into the safest place I could go because she got to a point where she didn't judge. How many of you have a place like that you can go where you're not judged? I mean, nowadays everybody's judging everything. And so we didn't need words. I could just sit next to her and breathe and go, I'm okay. I'm okay. So there's a lot of the joys you'll find are much smaller, but they are so heartfelt, they will never, ever leave you. Never. I mean, go to my YouTube and even just watch a couple of the videos of my mom in her end stages singing. It's amazing. And she'll fall asleep and then she'll wake back up. But she has this smile and this giggle, and she doesn't know all the words, but her hands are going and her toes are wiggling, and it's just pure joy. What's better than that? So those things are out there, but we have to look at what brings them joy, because when they're joyful, we can relax. And sometimes we forget that ripple effect with that. So, Agnes, did you have any comments that you wanted to say? I don't know if you're still there or not.
Oh, I'm here. Just, well, yeah, thank you for opening up and giving us all this advice. Really, it's really nice knowing and hearing all this as I'm a third year, so I'm trying to specialize into more of what I want to do, or really focus on what I want to do after college. So just hearing, making sure that I really put my efforts into what I really want to do versus what I think I should do. It's really nice hearing that. But my favorite thing from your talk was just I forgot what I was saying. It was the would have, could have, should have, just because actually a couple years ago somebody asked me that same thing, and I also said should have, and they explained to me what that whole thing was, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. And okay, yeah, I'm not gonna say should have anymore. And I'm gonna make sure I do everything. But then I guess I just lost my way in that, and then I guess just hearing that again made me remember that's what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Yep. Well,
I really like that.
and sometimes we say should have to other people. Well, you should have. And just knowing how that makes us feel, knowing how that makes them feel. So go get a roll of nickels and pass them out. Start buying those words. That could be a challenge for you. That might be an interesting one, actually, with dementia to be able to do. Maybe you buy the word, or they pay for you to take it from them. I don't know. Well, thank you guys so much for your time and letting me share my story.